Have you heard about the growing trend of co-piloting wedding ceremonies? What does it really mean to have the responsibility of the mic shared on one of the most important days of your life? And how can both engaged couples and celebrants team up to make the experience something truly out of the box? Today I'm chatting with Annie Moz of Celebrant Lady Love about the rise of co-piloting ceremonies, which is when a professional authorised celebrant partners with a friend or family member of the soon-to-be-weds to craft a ceremony that's engaging, authentic, full of meaningful connection and laughs too. You'll learn about why clear communication and early expectation setting are absolutely crucial as a baseline, the importance of great chemistry between the celebrant and the co-pilot, and how these ceremonies work in a practical sense, from the process right through to the cost. Whether you're just starting to consider the possibility of involving a loved one in your ceremony, or you're a celebrant yourself and curious about this relatively new approach to collaboration, this episode will give you some brilliant insights to help make your co-piloted ceremony a roaring success. Now, you might notice during this episode that Annie and I, we kind of get the giggles a bit, we're mucking around a bit, and it's the first time we've met each other. I wanted to let you know that over half an hour before this recorded part, we had experienced massive tech problems like you just wouldn't believe, and had gone through 3 other platforms trying to record this for you. I think you'll agree, even though Annie doesn't get to say goodbye at the end, that the information that she shares is absolute gold and well worth our efforts to hang in there and get it done for you. I hope you love it. Let's get stuck into it.
Unbridely is a community of pro-wedding vendors who believe in freedom and integrity in weddings, giving you options, solutions, tips and tricks to create the experience and memories that you and your fiancé really want and deserve. Because we believe that weddings are a team sport. With how-tos, stories and interviews with recently married couples, we find out what went right and what they'd change if they could go back and do it all over again. I'm Camille, and welcome to the Unbridely podcast.
Hey, Annie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure.
Mate, we have spent the last half hour fighting technology. I feel like we've been in the trenches together, and yet we've only just met. Why don't you share with the listener who you are and especially what Celebrant Lady Love does?
Yeah, we just go through a very, very intense team building exercise straight off the bat. It feels like a baptism of fire for our friendship. We're here. God. My name is Annie. I am the creator of Celebrant Lady Love, which started out as a business that involved me marrying people and has developed into a business that involves lots of people marrying people. That made it sound a bit strange, but I've got lots of celebrants that work under the brand now all over Australia who have been trained and mentored by me to deliver ceremonies that lean hard into authenticity and fun and creating meaningful connections between us and our couples, but more importantly, between our couples and their guests on their wedding day. Yeah. So that's it in a nutshell. There are about, I think there are 17 Celebrant Lady Loves around Australia now.
Jesus, mate. It's like a cult.
Hey,
don't say that so venomously.
I feel like cult's a pretty strong word.
A nice cult. A friendly cult?
With following.
A following. It's a following. It's a belief system, right?
Any goats or anything like that. No sacrificial lamb.
Okay, all right. I've got the feeling though, Annie, just from our short interaction, that you don't stop. Is that fair?
Yeah, it's pretty busy because at the moment I'm still doing quite a lot of weddings myself, and I do celebrancy, but I'm also an MC, DJ, musician, and so often the weddings that I do involve wearing those 3 hats. So they're big day. We're the first to arrive. at a wedding and the last to leave. I'm the one at midnight and driving home. It's busy, it's a lot, but if I'm still doing it after 12 years and still enjoying it and still getting booked is the main thing. Because my thing was, I've just got to go hard for as long as I can because I'm only going to be relevant for so long. All these young ones are going to come. They'll all start replacing me. I'm just going to just ride this wave for as long as I can. You're lucky to be still riding it and then have the opportunity to bring in the girls underneath me and help them become really successful as well. So I've got a really great team, and
that's the key though, Annie, like you're passing on your knowledge.
And I love that we've got our Celebrant community on Facebook as well. That's got about 1,000 celebrants in it now, from all over Australia. And, that space is so great for everybody to be able to share their own knowledge and experience. And we've got celebrants who have just started or who haven't even quite qualified yet, right through to people who have been doing it for 20 or 30 years in that group. So everybody benefits from community, and I'm really big on community and shared learning. So for me, being able to bring other celebrants in under my brand and get them up and moving is super gratifying.
Yeah, it fires you. Yeah, I can see that. I've known of you for many, many years. You are everywhere on socials, and I put a word out in your group, in the Facebook group, and just went, guys, there's not a particularly new trend, but something that is going like skyrocketing in popularity, I feel. I'm getting asked more and more. I'm finding my friends and colleagues are being asked more and more about co-piloting. And you put up your hand, Annie, and went, oh, yeah, I've co-piloted. I'm comfortable in that role. And so, we could sit here and talk for days, I'm sure. But for today, I would love to, talk about co-piloting, what it is, why it's soaring in popularity, so to speak. And, can you perhaps share like a bit of your knowledge and a bit of how you started doing co-piloting ceremonies?
Yeah, for sure. Actually, I just had another one of my couples who have booked me. It was only last week, broached the topic with me. We're not 100% certain yet, but we think that we would like for one of our friends, actually it was the groom's brother, to play a part in the ceremony, to tell a portion of our story. We don't know exactly what that looks like or how it might play out, but would you be open to something like that? And I said, yes, absolutely, because the main thing when couples book me is that I always make sure that they know nothing's prescriptive, know, except for the legal components, of course. Outside of that, we can do whatever we want. And I'm always open to changing things up and making sure that the ceremony and the celebration rolls out in a way that feels most meaningful to them. And so when it comes to co-piloting, I said this to them, and this is the honest truth. It works really well sometimes. And the key for it working really well is chemistry between me and the person I'm delivering with. And because there are certain levels, right? Because sometimes the co-piloting thing is simply me coming in and doing the legal component of the ceremony, in which case it's not really important for me to have chemistry and banter and be able to bounce off the other person who I'm co-piloting with. It's more important then for the person who's delivering the story element of the ceremony to be great. And in that case, I can help with that by, giving them tips and tricks on how to present and how to formulate the story and things like that. But if it's a true co-pilot ceremony where we've got one person saying a bit and the next person saying a bit and you're sort of bouncing off each other and sharing the story and sharing the whole ceremony, that takes chemistry. So when a couple wants to take that approach, I always say before you make that decision, you need to make sure that, like, I have a meeting with the person that you're going to be in the pilot seat with.
Yes.
I will encourage them to not make any decisions around that until we've had a chance to meet and see whether or not there's the opportunity to be able to create together, because it requires connection and it requires chemistry. So in the past, I had really amazing experiences where it's been not just engaging and fun, but almost like I sort of thought to myself, wow, there's something in this. It elevated the ceremony quite a lot, to the point where the best one that I've done, I was in the bathroom afterwards and there was some, and they didn't know I was in the toilet.
Right.
So what happened was they were talking about the ceremony. Ceremony had just taken place and they were talking about, and I'm in the stall like, oh, no, I can't walk out, you know. And they were like, oh, the last ceremony, how good was it? It was so funny, but
Oh,
I'll leave in a minute. I don't want to walk out yet. But they stayed in there for so long. And then I realized there were only 2 toilets and they were waiting for me to go, oh my God.
You were holding out.
Yeah. And they go, oh, we were just talking about you. That was so amazing. Have you got a card?
oh,
And then they go, oh, so I've never seen 2 celebrants before. How long have you guys been doing this together for? And I was so
wow.
I don't know him. We just met a couple of times beforehand. And she goes, oh, so it's just you usually on your own. It's like, yeah. She goes, oh, no, I want the 2-person thing. Don't remember, didn't touch my card.
The 2-man show. I'm a pretty good solo.
Wow.
That's how good it was. It was like,
Yeah.
and that's the best experience that I've had. But we had a really great connection. And like I said, we met a couple of times beforehand. There's, in that sense, because some people say, oh, well, you charge less because you're not doing as much of the ceremony. But it actually was more work. Couple, and then I was meeting with their friends separately. And there was a lot more admin and working out what part. And because the friend had never put a ceremony together before, so didn't really know how to write for ceremony. And so I was doing all the heavy lifting in terms of content creation and sort of allocating parts and things like that. They got a lot of the glory, the same amount of glory, because, you know, they're turning up and did a great job on the day. But it's the background stuff that people underestimate. And it's the same, you know, with everything. But probably say that there's more work in it. Oh, no, definitely say there's more work in it when you're writing like that. Have you ever done it where you just step in and deliver the legals and someone
I haven't. I'm 17 years in.
Yeah.
So to me, like this feels like a real new sort of
done that?
gold rush thing. You know, that people are going, okay, I'm going to co-pilot. And I guess my background is I'm so aware of the amount of work that it would take. Yeah. And at the moment, I'm trying to claw back maybe some time with a family, maybe some time to do some other projects and stuff. So I'm not doing as many ceremonies either. So the thought of putting in actually more hours on a particular ceremony, I've got to say it's not entirely enticing to me at this point.
So the reason that I asked you if you had done the legals only version of co-piloting, which at face value seems to be like much less work, an easy role. You arrive on the day, make sure all of the legal components are ticked off, you know, sign the documents, deliver the monitum, very basic kind of a role. But I've never, ever done that role and it's been basic. So because what happens is the couple books saying that I won't need to do any of the ceremony. All I need to do is supply the PA and the legal documentation, and their friend's going to put everything together and their friend's going to do everything. But it's never the case because the friend, more often than not, has never done a ceremony before. They don't know the order, structure, and timing of the ceremony. So the couple will come back and say, oh, so-and-so has just asked if, you know, what kinds of things that you would normally say in housekeeping. And then you're like, well, I just asked if you use some kind of a tool to help you put things together when you're writing the ceremony. Yeah, that's a tool that I've been honing for.
Yeah, that's called my intellectual property.
Yes. So I want to keep that out.
See, that's the thing. That's the thing that I struggle against, Danny. But I mean, you seem to have found like a middle ground there somewhere. Maybe not being just the legal person to do the legal things, but yeah, I really love this idea, you know, because it's called co-piloting and it really makes it sound like while you might be the pilot, your co-pilot is like really sharing that ride.
So here's the thing. Now I will always say to my couples from the outset, I'll say, okay, there are sort of 3 ways that we can go about this. Every way costs the same. I just want you to do the legals. I still charge my full ceremony fee because I know that it's never just the legals. And also I'm still carving time out of my busy wedding schedule to be at someone's wedding where I could, and I could be taking a full fee wedding. So if it requires me to be present at your wedding on a Saturday and I'm not able to be present at somebody else's wedding on a Saturday, that's cancelling me out of earning my full-time wage, essentially.
Yeah.
So whether it's legals only or me essentially doing all the writing and heavy lifting, it's the same price.
Right.
It always ends up being the same amount of work, and it just changes where the work sort of falls.
Yeah.
My couples that if you want to bring your friend in and get them to do most of the ceremony, that's fine. But this is the way that it's going to go. And I have a plan for that.
Yeah.
So I say, first thing is, and I have templates actually. So I'll say, this is the questionnaire that I'm going to send to the 2 of you to complete. You're going to provide me with all the same information that you would normally provide me with when I'm writing your story. And then I'm going to compile that information and I'm going to give it to your friend. And then they can write it however they want and use what they already know about you and your relationship and their own personal experiences.
Nice. So they can insert their own little take on things. Perspective.
And then I'll give them an order of ceremony as well, the way things would sort of traditionally be formatted so that they know rough timing, rough structure, and they don't need to reach out to me for things like that. And then the last thing that I'll do is give them within that order of ceremony the parts that I will be saying, and I'll highlight that part. And this is the only part that I'll be saying. This is the only part that I'll be doing. This is what I would suggest you saying in housekeeping. And then it's up to them, really, to do it. And I also add they're welcome to send it through to me afterwards, just for moderation. But I'm not going to be doing any of the heavy lifting in terms of really writing the ceremony unless the couple want me to. And then the other version is that I do everything as I normally would. I create the script and I separate the script into parts that I think will work really well to deliver for me and parts that will work well to deliver for their friend. And I have a video call meet up with their friend to plan and prepare. And that's it. So obviously that third option only works if I've had a qualifying call with their friend and they're going to be a good co-pilot.
That's such a good point, Annie.
It has to be structured. It has to be formulated because when you go in with all these unknowns, like, oh, you're not going to have to worry about doing this and you're not going to have to worry about doing that. But ultimately I do because they are inexperienced. It's an alien kind of a thing for them and they don't know when they need help. So that's time and that's knowledge and that's, that's a service. So
yeah, it's all your experience wrapped up in there.
Yeah, for sure. So I think that the main thing is when you're accepting these kinds of bookings is managing expectations and out a plan so that you're really on the same page, because I found that in the past I felt a little bit jaded or resentful because I've expected for it to be an easy kind of a role and I've charged less for it because of that, and it hasn't gone that way. And I don't necessarily think that was through any fault of my couple because they simply didn't anticipate what could happen or what might be needed. And so now I know that it's my job to anticipate those things. So I just make...
Well, now that you know. Exactly.
Yeah. Charging appropriately and having a really good plan so that you're not bombarded with a larger workload and so that the couple feels safe and secure and they have like a nice smooth client journey as they normally would.
Did you know that most newlyweds spend up to 8 hours of their precious time working through changing their last name after they get married? This is where easy name change comes in. Their kits provide you with a sort of shopping list of businesses, companies and government departments where you simply pick which ones you need to notify. They then send you detailed instructions on how to go about the name change process because every business is different. And this saves you hours of calling around, waiting on hold, sending emails, waiting for a response, and then remembering to follow up when you don't hear back from them. Easy name change kits also provide ready-to-send forms, letters and emails, so you just attach your marriage certificate to them and you're done. Starting at $39, the value and time you get back is a no-brainer. For more help on changing your name after you get married, there is an excellent blog post on the Unbridely website, and I'll put a link in the show notes for you. Plus, Unbridely podcast listeners get a $6 discount on their name change kits by using the code Unbridely6. That's UNBRIDELY 6, the number 6. And this is valid until the end of 2025. Get your easy name change kit so you can move on to the fun parts of being grown-ups together, like holidays, getting a dog, building a house, herb gardens. Because I feel like there's a massive difference between, from the couple's side, of them just having a really funny, great orator sort of friend who always expresses themselves really well and has great ideas and always can sort of lead a discussion and things like that. I get how a couple's going, they'd be perfect. They would be so good.
Friends. Yeah, they probably would make a great MC. They're kind of want to have as your MC. The role of the celebrant in ceremony is so underestimated. I mean, you've seen time and time again over the years, I'm sure, the comments of people in Facebook groups on those bridal pages, and they're like, over $1,000. They literally show up for half an hour and say,
20 minutes work.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like, I'm much more efficient with the way I manage my time and the way I can do things. But someone once said to me, when you hire a graphic designer to create a logo for you, whether it takes that graphic designer 5 minutes or 5 days to create a logo, you pay for the same logo at the end because you're paying for the person's experience. So if they're good enough at their job to be efficient and skilled to do it in 5 minutes and produce the same thing that someone else could potter over for 5 days.
Yeah.
Because you get the end product for you is the same, So when I first started out, I was probably spending somewhere in the vicinity of 20 hours meeting my couples, like securing things, doing the admin and writing the story and doing the meetings and the rehearsals and all of the things. So I've probably halved that time now.
Yeah.
But it's not because I'm doing less for my clients. It just means I'm more efficient at doing what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. You're more experienced. Yeah. You get through things quicker. You develop systems. But as you were saying before, that's your IP. I'm wondering, Annie, like when someone comes to you and goes, we've got this great friend and they're, really great at talking and expressing themselves. We think they'd be hilarious. Will you co-pilot with them? I know that you have that qualifying call. Is there anything else that you ask your couples, I don't know, just to make sure that they're a good fit?
I have also found, this is going to sound a bit, I feel a bit icky saying this, but I've also found when I'm co-piloting, I generally tend to have a better experience when I'm co-piloting with a male.
Okay.
Different kind of an energy there. When I've co-piloted with female, it's not that it hasn't worked. I just think it works better. I just feel like the dynamic is somehow elevated when I'm co-piloting with a male. And like there are certain bits within a ceremony and also depending on the relationship that person has with the couple. So, for example, if it's a male and he's the groom's brother, there are certain things that the groom's brother can say in ceremony that would be really funny that I couldn't deliver. It wouldn't feel right. To another level.
Yeah. The brotherly banter and Mickey taking.
Yes. So there are certain things that you can do in ceremony with a co-pilot that you couldn't otherwise do. And also, whenever I'm doing ceremony on my own, I err on the side of caution when it comes to trying to present in a way that makes it seem like you know the couple on a personal level. Whilst I'm delivering someone's story and I've learned a lot of personal information about them and about their journey together and about their thoughts and feelings about one another, I don't try to pretend that I know them or that I'm their friend.
Yeah.
I'm a narrator perspective. And so I don't try to make it seem like I've got this amazing personal connection with my couples. I have a connection with them, obviously.
Sure. But
And I
just
know
not
them
too familiar. Yeah.
shit.
It's fucking creepy in my opinion. When you've got this virtual stranger standing up the front of, 80, 100 people, sort of intimating that they know the couple better than everyone else there.
Yeah. And it feels forced and it's disingenuous as well.
Yeah.
I also feel it's a little bit, it sort of verges into that game show hosty kind of way. Well, obviously, you know that there's, as celebrants, whilst it's important that we hold space with confidence, there's also no room for ego because you're holding space for other people. I'm there as the representative,
Yeah.
And
I call myself the couple's PR. I'm there to make them look good.
Look good, but nothing to do with me. Well, I want them to shine. And even when I'm delivering content that I think is quite funny and then ends up, with a good result with people laughing, I always pass that compliment on to the couple. So if somebody laughs or there's something particularly warm or humorous or really great anecdote that they've shared, I'll say something like, I'll have to thank Alex for giving me that one, It's because this isn't a story I was present for. This isn't something I observed and remembered. All this info, everything that I'm saying has come from my couple that, the story is shining because of their openness and transparency, because of their warmth, because of their humor, because of the way that they. So I think that what happens when you co-pilot with someone who's really great at helping you elevate that and can lean into bits that I probably wouldn't be able to because I don't have that personal connection, that's what elevates the ceremony and that's what takes it to another level. So I do really love it when I get a co-pilot who can help me do that because I know the result for the couple is so great. And their guests too. More often than not, the person who's delivering the ceremony with me will have a special connection to the couple. It'll be a family member or a best friend or a childhood friend, So there's already immediate rapport there. And I piggyback off that.
That's a really good point of view, Annie, that it actually, it gives another little insight. It's another little refraction on the diamond that is the couple,
Right.
That's beautiful. You were going to say, and I think I might have taken you off track, when a couple go, we're thinking of this person, we'd love to involve them or they'd love to run the whole thing, you were saying that there might be some things that you ask them before you get to that qualifying video call.
I just jumped straight into some qualifying questions about who they are, why the couple think that they would excel in this role, what's prompted them to arrive at this idea. I ask them to tell me about their experience in presentation and speaking and writing. I ask them to tell me about their connection, about how they think that person will react if they're asked to do this, whether they will be nervous or excited, whether they'll jump at the opportunity or need time to think about it. Things like that. But more importantly, I think I always say, what's the main reason that this person has jumped to your mind for this specific role? What makes you think that this is going to work so well? And then from there, and once I get them talking, because I want them to talk to me a lot about this person and tell me a lot about them. And then from there, I'll gauge, just based on my own experience, sort of a bit of an idea about which way I think it might work best, whether it be for them to do the whole thing. Or they say things like, they might be a little bit hesitant because they can be shy. And, I think that they'd probably be worried that they might get really emotional I'll sort of say, well, how about this? Why don't I do the heavy lifting on the emo part so that if they need to be off having a cry, that gives them the opportunity to be able to be involved and also feel all the things and not
bit
be
of a cover.
Carry anyone else through and mask their own emotions. So I think that based on my experience and things like that, it's easy for me to sort of ascertain which way I think might work. But then again, that can change after I've spoken to the person. And it's happened before. I've jumped on a call with a person and they're so clueless as to what we're talking about. And like, yeah, I don't know. Like they just said, do I want to like help with the ceremony or something? And I'm like,
and they thought I'd hand out the rose petals.
Everybody, essentially the celebrant role. They're like, oh, geez, I don't know about that.
That sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah. It's, oh, are you going to write it for me? I'm like, well, this is what we're doing.
Yeah, this is why we're chatting, mate.
Yeah. So that qualifying call is also really, really important. Often super telling as well. So I think like the main key things that I would take away from this chat is that managing expectations of your clients and setting out a proper journey so that they know what the next steps look like and what they can expect. Managing expectations in terms of pricing and being transparent right up front about that so that you're not undervaluing yourself and feel resentment later on. And then also making sure that if you're co-piloting and in the true sense where you're really requiring to work in close quarters with someone that you don't know, you've got to have a qualifying call as well.
That's gold. I hadn't sort of thought about, putting up that. It's a little filter there, isn't it? Just to make sure that you don't get into a situation that I've heard other celebrants get into when they're just standing there up the front and they've got someone either freaking out or completely taking over, going off script, whatever it might be.
100%.
Yeah.
That sort of stuff happens all the time. I choose not to believe that people go into anything with, bad intentions. I think that when they say that I'll only need to do the legal parts and their friend will do everything else, I think they genuinely believe that that's possible. Yeah. But without experience, it's just not. They need help. And what will happen is if I don't help them, they'll Google it and they'll get AI to write it and then it won't be a good ceremony. They'll lean into internet resources rather than real, genuine life experience that only comes from doing the job for so long. And so then what the couple thought would be an even better ceremony experience ends up falling a bit flat because they haven't had the support they have needed. I think that making the couple aware of that is important too.
Yeah, so good, Annie. Like you've spoken about the celebrant's perspective, from the couple's perspective, any last minute tips for them when they're considering that sort of stuff?
I sort of put it in the same pocket as when couples sort of are umming and ahhing between over whether or not they should hire a professional MC friend to do the role. Because whilst it's lovely to have a friend in the role or a family member in the role, there is one thing that they have to keep in mind is that they are taking away from that person's experience of their wedding in a sense that for them, they're doing a job on the day and it's a big job. It's a big responsibility. One of the reasons why our job sort of is considered so high pressure is because we're managing the most important day of somebody's life. So our margin for error, we've got to be
is non-existent.
We can't make mistakes. And we're okay to carry that because we've been doing it for a long time and that's, we've learned to be able to manage that kind of stress. But for somebody who's never done it before, it's a lot of stress to manage on a day that they're supposed to be having fun and enjoying and partying and doing all the things with people that they love. So even if they are going to be great in the role, I think a major consideration is whether or not you want them to be great in the role for you or you want them to have a great time at your wedding and let somebody who's a professional who would also be great in the role take care of all of the work so that everyone can relax and have fun. That's the main consideration.
It's such a great way of thinking about it. But do you know what? I did a friend's cousin's ceremony recently and got asked to stay for the reception. And I finished the ceremony and then I grabbed a drink and I was free. I was a guest then. And the MC and her husband came over to me and they went, "How's it feel to be off the clock?" And they were annoyed that they couldn't have a couple more drinks, sit down and have a chat because they're running around working out the timeline, working out the entrance of the wedding party, just working out the catering times.
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff.
Everything.
And it's unpaid. I mean, it's paid in love, of course, but yeah, they didn't have the same experience of the wedding that I had.
Yeah, I think it's so underestimated because they can't sort of let loose until formalities conclude. Formalities don't conclude until the dance floor opens. And then dance floor is usually an hour or two before the night is over. So up until that point, they're on. They're switched on. They're managing that stress. They're managing those responsibilities. So it's a very, very important thing to consider when you're asking someone to do that role. Thing is about to die. I'm almost out of battery.
Okay. And any other gold nuggets then? Anything else that you think people have to know this?
I think it's pretty obvious to say that when you choose a celebrant, you should choose a celebrant who you have a great connection with, who you know will represent you really well, so that if you are considering the idea or the possibility of involving somebody else in your ceremony and further down the line you decide, no, I don't want to do that, you know that the celebrant, it's still going to be great. You know, don't go and get a celebrant who's just a celebrant, because it's only $300 and they're just going to do the legals because our friend's going to do the ceremony. So we'll just find a really cheap celebrant. I think that it's important to note that if that plan falls through, you've got a really great celebrant there who will deliver an exceptional experience regardless of input from another family member, co-pilot, friend, whatever.
That's brilliant, Annie. So good. Thank you for sticking with me through numerous tech failures and fuck-ups with all sorts of stuff. Oh, my God. Bloody hell. That about wraps it up for this episode of the Unbridely podcast. For the links and resources we mentioned, please head to the show notes. And if you love the show, please review and subscribe on the podcast platform you're on now so you don't miss out on a single episode. Thanks so much for listening. And remember, weddings are a team sport. Catch you soon.